Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Education for Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. This meeting is now called to order. Wait, may we please have a roll call?
Yes. Mr. Walker. Ms. Heinrich.
Here.
Mr. Hull.
Here.
Mr. Jacinto.
Here.
Ms. Smith.
Here.
I myself am here, and President Weems.
I am also here.
We are all present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. We will now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We will now move to the item 2 of our agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Mrs. Heinrich.
I move to approve the agenda for the regular meeting of the Board of Education, Tuesday, October 28th, 2025, as presented.
Support. Motion made by Mrs. Heinrich, supported by Mrs. Smith to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion passes. We will now move to announcements. I'll try to be quick, but there is a lot to cover. First, I hope everyone is enjoying the fall festivities. I know there are lots of trunk or treats, et cetera, going on. I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge some of the things that my fellow board members have been involved in. I know that Mr. Jacinto and Mrs. Heinrich attended color runs, I believe at either Forest or Warner. I know Mr. Jacinto, Mr. Hull, and Dr. Blau attended the 3 to 4 day training in Traverse City with NASB. I know Mrs. Smith attended the North Farmington High School Memorial Tree Dedication Ceremony. And I know that Mr. Hull and Mrs. Heinrich also attended the Wood Creek Elementary building visit to see Magma Math in action, to see how the teachers and students worked with the program, which I understand has contributed to significant growth as measured by the NWEA scores in math at these 2 grade levels. I was able to attend a Farmington welcome dinner for a delegation from Italy, marking the beginning of a new international partnership and friendship between the 2 areas, formalizing their mutual commitment to collaborate around historic preservation, economic development, and culture exchanges, and want to thank the mayor of the city of Farmington and city council for allowing me and Mrs. Henry to attend that as well. So very fun. I would love to invite my fellow board members to speak about any of those events or more. I know a lot has happened, and so I want to open up the floor and see if anybody has anything to add. Mrs. Smith.
The memorial that took place over at North Farmington was pretty much on the behalf of students and staff that we have lost over, over the years. It was well attended. A lot of the parents were there and relatives. And if you go over right behind, I want to say, right behind where TV 10 and the band room is, you will see a tree. And that tree is the memorial, and they have rocks around it from family members to give their thoughts and prayers to their students.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. And I think Mr. Jacinto was at that as well. Were you not?
I was actually at the MASB thing on that day.
Okay.
Yes, the color runs were very well run. I went to the one at Warner, and I know Power had a little competition, so congratulations to the Power PTSA. And also shout out to the Warner staff. After the color run completed, they made time for some ASD students to walk and experience color and things along with the staff, and so the people stayed and cheered and everything, or quietly cheered. And then, again, thank you for the opportunity to attend MASB, learn many things. The biggest takeaway was being a new person, how dedicated many school board members are around the state. They're not doing it for power or money or anything. They really have students at the center. It was very inspiring, but also a lot of takeaways, the toolkits that I bring back, and happy to share with the board.
Thank you.
All right, I'm good.
Do you want to speak about Magma?
The magma?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, Yeah, we went to see Magma Math, which was amazing. I mean, it's like, I don't know if when math teachers go to heaven, it's like, you want to have these resources available. When you talk about a computer program, you know, this isn't a computer program where the kids like listen to these high-pitched voices with music and push buttons. It was just all interactive. The kids were engaged. They were using their, you know, we're approving updating the Chrome devices. And so they were actually sitting there. They had pencil and paper on their desks, but they also had a stylus, and they actually had things that they were writing on the screen on their Chromebook. And the teacher, the smart boards this technology that we have is just amazing how it is used to engage the students and to really give them opportunities as far as the teacher. I asked, there were like little leaves falling down, and I said, how come the little leaves are falling down? And he said, oh, that's because my work is up on the board. And so it would capture different kids' work on the board. So if kids had questions, or, you know, if they needed like some suggestions, they could look on the board, and that was constantly changing. And then another classroom we went to, we saw a different aspect of the program where the teacher had a grid of all the, you know, there were green squares and red squares, and so she could see if they met the objectives or the ones that were struggling, and then they could hide the kids' names, but like pick something up and pick on it, and then it would replay their work, and so they would have questions, you know, they would talk about it. And it was all student, when we talk about, you know, noticing and student-driven, the teachers weren't saying this is the way you do this. They were really asking meaningful questions to the students. Well, what does this mean? What do you notice? It's actually good teaching and learning. And the kids were doing that with each other also. They had one room, they had groups that, you know, there was a girl that was the leader, and she was organizing all the kids, but she wasn't telling them things. She was asking them questions. What do you see? How do you do this? You know, come and look at this thing. So it was really great. And then there was another group that was sitting over on the floor, and they were like doing something different. And they were like, oh, well, that's the spicy group. So they really had met all the objectives of the lesson. And so they were doing a higher level. So, you know, they were being accelerated within the room. And yeah, it was just great to see all of this immediate feedback, and just a shout out to our team as far as bringing this available, and the commitment to our teachers and our staff to learn how to use this, and it's really working together to, you're regretting asking me to speak. You know, how much more time do I have?
3 minutes.
It was just working together, and you could just see all of this development, and I just know as an educator, this is not easy. You know, it's like, remember when, you kids don't remember when JFK said you read about it in your history books, but I was there when they said, why do you go to the moon? Because it's hard. You know, and we can. And so these things that we're asking these teachers to do, why are we doing this? Because it's hard, and we can do this, and they're really getting the support to do that also. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity to see that, and I just hope that, you know, parents really listen to their kids and ask them about how their day was and how they're using these resources that we have available to them.
I appreciate you sharing. We don't often have the opportunity to share, and so I thought it was a good opportunity to just take a pause and to hear from each of our board members on what they're experiencing. So I do appreciate you sharing that with us. Anybody else?
So, as with Ms. Heinrich, I was invited to the Magma Math also at Wood Creek, and this first time I actually saw Ms. Heinrich, she was just like a kid in a candy store. I was like, wow, okay. I said, this is amazing. And I was saying, wow, I was very impressed because of how the students were it felt like I was not in a classroom. Felt like I was like in a collaboration boardroom, like at a Fortune 500 company. I mean, how they was all collaborating, how they were all doing the things they had.
And what grade was this?
This was 5th grade and also 2nd grade. And one classroom was like quiet as a pin can drop, right? And they were learning everything. And then the second class I went to was very loud, and the teacher was very animated. I mean, I don't know well, I shouldn't say that, but I don't know how the age of this teacher was, but she was just bouncing around just like the kids were. I was like, man, she must do some Tai-Bo or something, but she was very animated with her items, and all the kids were all collaborating, and they were excited. And I asked the teacher, I asked one of the students, I said, hey, why is this, what do you see it was great about this program? And the first thing he said, this is what he said. He said, this is more funner. So I was like, more funner. And as a teacher, as an adult, I was like, oh, that's, who says more fun? You get cringy because that's improper grammar, but the excitement for the kid was just about this. I said, wow, this is a math? Who gets excited like this about math? And that was very important, because as I recall growing up and doing math, I got knuckles to prove if I get 5 times 6 wrong, so, they all have very clean and nice.
Yeah, we don't beat the kids anymore.
Yeah, I know, right?
No bloody knuckles.
Yeah.
There, yeah.
So that's how I learned. So
That's why your knuckles so big now.
I know my math, though.
When you said math was fun,
Yes.
I mean, as a teacher, I learned don't ask questions you don't want the answer to, but I put on my get to know you questionnaire, what's your favorite subject? And like 2 kids put math, and I was like, what's with this, kind of thing. So when kids are excited that math is fun, that's really huge, because for the majority, it's not the favorite subject.
Yes. And so went there, so I'm very impressed with that, and also went to the MASB meeting, and I was a lot of takeaways from there. It was just like Mr. Recinto said, that that we've, first time we're up there was very great. Actually, Mr. Recinto's being very modest, because he became an instant celebrity up there. And when I was walking with them, I was saying, they was like, hey, I appreciate what you said and everything to Mr. Recinto, and I said, well, I'm just Ron's friend. And then I became Ron's friend. the whole thing. But we learned a lot, a lot of the struggles and struggles and triumphs of each district. And, and I have to say, I'm very, very blessed and appreciate Farmington. You just don't know how good you have it until you're around a lot of folks. So you're like, wow. So gave me a deep appreciation for our work as a board and how functional our board is, and how we're here for the kids, and I love it. So that's, I got other takeaways, but
Thank you for sharing that.
So.
Thank you for sharing. Dr. Blau?
That was a very good summary of our experience at the MASB conference, and it was wonderful to be able to be there together and share that experience.
Awesome.
On a more solemn note, we laid Kathy Starum to rest about a week ago. But I want to thank her husband, because when he walked up to individuals, and by the way, several members of our school community attended, even those that have moved on and have retired or gone on to other businesses and ventures. But he actually watches our school board meetings. So not only did he share that he loved Kathy, but he loved the work that Kathy did for this district. And he has a special place in his heart for all of us and for this district. I was shocked when he walked up, he said, "You Angie Smith." I said, uh-oh. So, but at the end of the day, the bottom line is that Kathy is going to be missed. She is loved. She was loved. And if you're watching, Mr. Starum, thank you again for sharing your Kathy with us, because Kathy was part of Farmington's finest. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Mrs. Smith. I want to acknowledge that November 1st, SNAP benefits, food benefits, may end for some of our families. I'm so glad that we have a budget that has been approved and that it includes food for our students. Our students do not have to pay for breakfast or for lunch. So I'm very grateful for that. I know that the district, along with elected officials and nonprofit organizations in our area, are pulling together to identify and share resources with families. If you are suffering from food insecurity, please know that there are resources available. While not much, I want to offer from my family our annual Thanksgiving food drive, where we are providing a full set of Thanksgiving groceries to families in need. We've centered our nonprofit organization around that over the past few years. And we usually identify families through our homeless coordinator here in Farmington Public Schools, along with other nonprofit organizations. But if you're listening and you think you'll be struggling to pull Thanksgiving off this year, please give me a call. If you're interested in helping us, we need, in addition to donations, we need shoppers, we need drivers. We actually deliver the food because we know that transportation is an issue as well. We probably need about 50 drivers this year to deliver the food boxes to families. Please give me a call or send me an email. I'm at Terry, Terri.Weems, W-E-E-M. Let me start over. Terry, Terri.Weems, W-E-E-M-S, @yahoo.com. Last year, we supported 100 families, and given the current environment, we plan to significantly increase that based on need.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Can I add what I'm doing this Saturday?
Sure.
So, and not to cut you off, this Saturday, from 12 to 2, I will be at Shiawassee Park collecting nonpartisan packages and toiletries. And I will be taking those items over to CARES. What I'd like to share with the community is this is not a time to talk about school board issues or campaigning or anything. I ask that if you are running or running to be elected or be reelected, to not wear your campaign information or bring your information. We should not be using our come up during someone's come down and their tear down. So I will be collecting items because right now CARES, I received a text message where they only have 3 rolls of toilet paper. So there's a shortage even in our pantries. So I am going to be collecting this Saturday from 12 to noon, 12 noon to 2, and I will be contributing again to Ms. Weems's holiday, Thanksgiving. She's going to probably need to feed more than just the 100 families that she has fed in the past. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Public service announcement, again, I'm going to keep driving this point home because it seems like every week I read a new report about absenteeism. Students are increasingly absent in a new report, both in patterns that suggest they may drop out and at more casual levels. This is according to new research that suggests that casual absenteeism can lead to learning loss, and it usually persists through high school. You're speaking to a person or listening to a person who never missed a day of school ever in my life. Attendance is very important to me. That's not true. I missed school once when I had the chicken pox, and my mom was still sending me to school. They sent a note home, stapled it to my back, and it said, "Please, Mrs. Lester, stop sending your daughter to school. She has the chicken pox." And that was the first year that they gave out perfect attendance certificates and Ponderosa gift certificates for perfect attendance.
And you didn't get it.
No. Yes, feel bad for me. No. But, right. No, seriously, absenteeism is it's really contributing to poor results for our students. Missing 2 days every 2 weeks, missing 1 day a week has a significant impact on reading and math skills. You are not reading as much, you are not learning as much, and compounded over years, that results in not performing at grade level. So please, please, please send your students to school. In other news, we get a lot of letters. And I was very happy, actually, to receive a letter from Mrs. Shayna Sadler, who teaches 10th grade honors English. Her students read Dr. King's letter from Birmingham jail and wrote rhetorical analysis essays, and students were given the task to choose a current issue and a real audience to write to, and many of them wrote the school board. They wrote about a variety of different things. They talked about the affordability of AP tests. Separately, at the adult breakfast that I forgot to mention that I attended along with many of you, that actually came up as a topic from IB students who also complained of the cost of IB tests. So thank you to Dr. Coffin for researching that for us. The exams cost $130 each. If you take 6 exams, that's $780. However, if you are a student who qualifies for a free and reduced lunch, the student only pays $10 and the remainder of the fee is covered by the state. So we need to make sure that that information is shared more broadly with our school community. Students also wrote about having days off for Muslim holidays, adequate lunch times, phone ban concerns, cheating, and the desire for academic integrity, which I was really happy to see, and the desire for some mental health days. So the board replied, and I was really happy to hear this response and wanted to share it with the board from the teacher. Shayna Sadler wrote, "I posted your reply on my smart board so that students could see your response upon entering the classroom. They were in awe that the board actually responded. One student remarked, they actually answered. Another said, wow, I like that they replied point by point and not just a thank you. The student smiled. The time and thought that you took to answer their letters and in addition quote their words truly empowers them to know that knowledge gained in the classroom has a lifelong purpose." I know that we've talked a bit about the volume of emails and our responses, and we have shifted greatly over the years from those canned, thank you for your email responses, to more in-depth responses. We genuinely read all of the correspondence that come to us, and we want the community to know that we've read it, that we understand it, and that we're considering it. And so it was really pleasing to hear and know from our students that they felt the same way. So I wanted to share that, and I think the board is in agreement that we'll continue to be comprehensive in our responses wherever we can. I want to move into board goals. So we talked about board goals in June. We also talked about them at a special board meeting a couple of weeks ago. I asked that the board provide some additional feedback via email, and I incorporated the feedback that I received, and I'd like to share the goals with the public now, but also offer the board members an opportunity to weigh in before we actually finalize these. So let me go to our board goals. First one continues to be around strengthening student achievement, oversight, and accountability. We want to make sure that we're monitoring student growth and achievement data and establishing clear district performance targets and supporting continuous improvement through informed governance. We have some SMART goals here outlining what we're going to do by December and quarterly, inclusive of retreats and updating potentially our North Star goals. So I wanted to pause and see if folks have any thoughts, reactions to this one. We'll post these as we normally do as well.
Are we just going goal by goal? Okay.
The next one is aligning financial resources to strategic priorities. We want to ensure we have long-term financial stability and alignment of district resources with educational priorities. We said that by June, we will review options for long-term funding plans. By August, we'll collaborate with the superintendent to review a 3 to 5 year facilities and capital improvement roadmap, and that will conduct a budget to priority alignment review, confirming that our expenditures support the district's strategic goals for the next budget cycle. Yes.
I have a question. Just help in understanding when we say that the board's going to conduct a budget to priority alignment review, just to understand what that's going to look like exactly. I mean, because we have, we get, the Finance Committee gets budget to actual reports, but budget to alignment priority review. Is this something that we're going to ask the district to come up with and share with us, or how? Well, I just need to help understand what it's going to, it sounds like a good goal, but it just doesn't, it's not specific enough.
Yes, we did this a few years ago, and I think the district has done a really good job in the past few years helping us understand what our priorities are and where they show up on the budget. That's actually what we're asking them to do. So I want to more formally identify, these are the strategies, these are the innovations, and understand where they show up in line items in the budget.
So we're going to actually ask the district to come up with something for us to review?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other feedback there? The third one is around,
Wait, hang
I'm
on.
sorry.
So you just were saying something about the initiatives that we're implementing. Is that from our first goal where we are identifying, reviewing the innovations, programs, and strategies implemented for the purpose of identifying the efficacy of these programs and their effectiveness, and then tying that work into the budget? Is that?
No.
No?
No. So what I just explained with Mrs. Heinrich is that separate and apart from that, we want to make sure that whatever our strategic priorities are, they're reflected in the budget. So I'm making it up. Let's say we want to see more tutoring. I don't want to get that granular, but show me where that shows up in the budget. Or we want to focus on smaller classroom sizes. Show me where that shows up in the budget.
Okay.
What you're talking about with respect to line item 2 is we want to make sure that some of the priorities like Magna Math are actually producing the results that we want to see.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you for asking. The next goal is around effective governance through training, retreat sessions, and structured data. We have some SMART goals there related to quarterly retreats, MASB certification, aligning our goals with the superintendent's goals, and making sure that our new members complete their onboarding within the first 90 days. And the fourth goal is around community trust and stakeholder engagement. We're fostering transparency and trust with district stakeholders, first by identifying our stakeholders, hosting some community sessions prior to our regularly scheduled board meetings. So this is not creating new meetings, but attaching on to others, or the meetings that we already have. So we're inviting our stakeholder groups in to speak with us prior to a board meeting and facilitating some dialogue and some discussion there. And then finally, strengthening partnerships with district-affiliated organizations. And the one area I want to point out here is I failed to put in, and I want to put in our final city council should be one of the organizations that we're having, at least some sort of biannual conversations with. Yes.
So this was an area where I had some confusion. So the strengthening partnerships with district-affiliated organizations such as PTA, Council, Education Foundation, employee unions, and now City Council by scheduling biannual joint sessions for dialogue and collaboration. Are those separate twice-a-year sessions like we've typically had with the city?
So the expectation is that we invite more people into that conversation with the joint cities. I think we've done that one year where we had them included in those meetings.
I see. So we're not saying have a meeting twice a year with the PTA council, have a meeting twice a year with the,
No.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for clarifying.
Okay.
No, that is not the intention.
So when I texted you about this, I misunderstood. I thought that these biannual joint sessions, I thought that they were the informal before. Okay, so it is separate meetings
it is
like our
separate.
city council.
And I probably confused you with the response.
Yeah,
No,
that's okay.
No, they're separate.
So there's two separate things, but this is just more of a include more stakeholders when we have that meeting with the both cities, including more people. I understand, thank you.
Yeah, I need help with this biannual part. You talk about biannual joint sessions. So to me, it reads like two
Twice
joint
a year.
sessions twice a year. So, I mean, we had a hard time scheduling one joint session with city councils. I think twice a year is too much. Maybe just,
That's a discussion for the board. Do we
I
think
would
that's too
agree.
much?
Just once.
maybe annual? I mean,
Okay,
once
we
a
can
year.
change that to annual.
I would be more comfortable with annual because asking just out of reality, I mean, biannual is like too hard to schedule 2 meetings.
And then I know that Dr. Coffin, you've continued to meet with the city managers of both Farmington and Farmington Hills, so the partnership and the work together is ongoing, even though we formally only met the one time.
So I'm going to make a personal goal. I feel like I need to meet with city council and our mayors more than once a year. Maybe it's not as formal as a joint session, but we clearly need to connect with them. And Dr. Coffin does far more regularly than even twice a year. But
What about inviting them to one of our before the board?
So I don't want to require them to do anything. I think I will find ways to make sure that we, yes,
So,
yeah.
as far as that goes, before all of you were on school board, we did meet
Twice a year.
twice a year. The public was invited. We did have the public because it wasn't a board or city council meeting. These were meetings that we included the city. So, and then we sat, as we're doing now and having these conversations. You had the mayors, the city councils, your police and fire department. So if there were, and they shared with the board and the community what was being done as well as what we were doing. And then in the meantime, if citizens and community members, our stakeholders, which we have here tonight, if they had questions, those questions were answered because there was a collaborative working relationship. And so I agree that twice a year would be fine. I think that coming before a school board meeting, I don't know when the city of Farmington has their meetings, but Farmington Hills are on Mondays, and they sometimes get out 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then they're debriefing the following day. So to come in on a Tuesday, or even if the city of Farmington had something, to come in on a Tuesday, to have coffee and water or whatever, just to sit around, I think that we should do it twice a year, and then let the community be involved and have conversations as well, like we used to do in the past.
Yes.
So for the 2 meetings, was it something like these are our goals, and this is like the result of these goals to have the reason why for the 2
No.
meetings?
No, so they're to discuss opportunities for partnerships and alignment. I recall that some of the conversations centered around where we might invite the cities to partner with us on after-school programming or use of facilities or on transportation. They might have some asks of us to partner with them to help with marketing of our, cities, inclusive of our school district, and how we support, growth in the city and property values and all that sort of stuff. So it was an opportunity to, share opportunities to grow together or develop partnerships, maybe an opportunity to be frank and honest about some concerns. Just a touch point to make sure that the cities and the schools are partnering together going forward.
And so when a school was completed, so at one point when all of our buildings were being updated, we would have something we had something at Forest. So both cities and the mayors came in and they saw the updates. They saw what we were doing, how we were working. They saw that we had a new gym, we had everything. They were included. And then the police officers, as well as, the chiefs and the fire chiefs, would give us an update on what's going on in the cities. So like if we had an incident or some things that we had taken place this summer with our students, we would have been informed, opposed to giving that to someone else to take the lead on and not talk to the schools. So that's where we work collaboratively. So then we would be working not only with the schools would take their part, and the city and the police department would take theirs as well.
So would we like to maybe revisit this as a healthy compromise by saying at least annually?
That sounds good.
Okay.
It gives us that built-in flexibility.
And do we need to be more specific here? I mean, I'm still reading this that, okay, so we're going to have at least one joint meeting with the Farmington Hills City Councils. But are we going to try and schedule a joint meeting with the PTA Council then?
No, so I'm going to
That's
rewrite
in
this
here.
to make it inclusive, that they're invited to that same meeting. It's not a separate meeting.
And how about the Education Foundation?
They're included.
So really, we want to schedule at least a meeting with the Farmington's Hills City Councils and invite
Correct.
district affiliated organizations, because right now, it doesn't read that way. It
Okay,
reads that we
yeah.
want to schedule joint meetings with all these organizations.
Okay.
So we just really want to schedule, and so that's easier to schedule meetings with just one other organization and invite, because we had talked about the homeowners associations and different stakeholder groups that could be invited to that, which would be good, but yeah, we don't want to schedule a whole bunch of joint meetings. Just, I don't see that happening. I mean, because we're supposed to be measurable and achievable.
Yep. All right, got it. The last one is around our superintendent evaluation and making sure that we're in alignment, making sure that we're agreeing on goals by October, scheduling our mid and end of year performance reviews, and also making sure that we're focused on developing our goals for next year by June of next year. All right.
Quick question. So complete the 26, 27 goals by the end of June, is that just the superintendent's goals, or is that our goals also?
Both.
Both. Okay, could we specify that so that it's clear that it's both the superintendent's goals and our board goals? Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. No matter how many times we look at it, we'll still have some feedback.
Well, and that's why, I mean, it's one thing to have, back and forth texts, but it's
Yes.
another thing to
Have a discussion.
conversations
Yes,
and
of course,
have
of course.
everybody's input.
There's good synergy when we talk together.
Yes. So we've also settled on our committee appointments. We will have 3 committees for next year. The first is the Policy Committee, of which Mr. Walker is the chair. Mr. Rosento and I are on that committee. The Finance and Facilities Committee, of which Mrs. Heinrich is the chair, and Thomas and Dr. Blau are on that committee. And the School Systems Blueprint, I'm also calling this /Curriculum Committee, because that committee will be responsible for reviewing any curriculum changes that come to the board first, and innovations for learning, including our competency-based instruction and so forth and so on. And so I am the chair of that committee, and Mr. Hull and Mrs. Smith are on that committee right now. In terms of representatives and liaison, I'm sorry.
Did we have a full discussion about the Community Engagement Committee? Because looking at goal number 4, strengthen community trust and stakeholder engagement, it just speaks to a Community Engagement Committee being involved in that and making that happen.
So,
I'm personally not comfortable with letting that committee go, and I don't know if we had a full board discussion on it. I just want to hear everybody's feedback.
So we didn't have a full board discussion on that. I personally don't believe that we need the committee, and I don't have 3 members who are interested in serving on it.
It has to be 3?
It should be 3.
Because there have been committees that we've had. Last year, there were 3 people on the Communications and Community Engagement Committee, but typically only 2 showed up for the meetings, and we still had the committee and ran it effectively, so.
If there are two members who want to further some work on their own, that is totally something that two members can do, but it won't be it won't be a board committee.
That's too bad.
Yeah,
Disappointed to hear that.
That's unfortunate. I just, I didn't realize that nobody else wanted to step up and,
So I did ask each board member,
well,
and we don't have three
I
members.
didn't have the full conversation, so thank you for
Is it
taking time to
possible,
address that.
when we have a new board member, would it be possible to revisit that?
We could, I would prefer for us to continue moving forward. It's something that I think we could revisit when we do our board goals in the next year, but it's not, to be honest, it's not a conversation I want to re-have multiple times in the school year. I think it's a conversation we have when we do our board goals and we have a new set of board members together.
I think it seems to me, for me, it's a priority, building community trust and continuing community engagement, not necessarily the dialogue structure, but, so I apologize for keeping on bringing it up, but it feels really important to me for our community.
I'm going to suggest, I'm not going to close the door on that, but I'm going to suggest that we settle into the work that Dr. Coffin is doing, identifying our stakeholder groups, inviting our stakeholder groups in to have a dialogue with us, or like a real conversation with us ahead of board meetings. I think those are probably going to happen naturally, at least monthly, which is more than what we were doing quarterly. And I think that we see how things evolve there. If we find, due to something that happens in the community that requires a lot of dialogue, that we need to do something differently, I think we should be open to having that conversation again if things change.
Can I ask a question? So when you say community dialogue, are you talking about having the monthly meetings? Are you talking about having it like it was before? How are these looking?
Is this for me?
It's for whomever that can answer this, because if we're talking about monthly, we have some stakeholders in this community that have had some very serious conversations. And many of them have had some great ideas, and they have come to these. But it's been one-sided. It has been us taking the information and those community members not seeing anything being done. So, I mean, I appreciate having people come out and, giving their input on what needs to be done. And it's been some great stuff. I mean, we just got an email the other day, and I didn't realize that something was not on the website. And that person made a great, honest, good opinion. Hey, the policy needs to be up there. And they were right. So if those individuals and people in this audience continue to come to these meetings and they're giving us their input and we're not giving them anything back, so what I'm trying to figure out, what are we doing? If we're going to have it where this community is invited, including those people as well, those stakeholders are invited. I just want to know, are we doing these on a monthly basis, annually? And if we do, what is the positive coming out of it for these individuals to have these conversations and be listened to and heard? That's just where I'm going with it.
So that's a great question. It's my understanding that there is a need, I think everyone agrees, to change the manner in which we convene folks and collect feedback, right? So I think when we started the community dialogues and started the Community and Communications Committee, the focus was on creating spaces where we could have dialogue. It was repeatedly highlighted for us that there is no opportunity to have a two-way dialogue at a public meeting. We're here to conduct board business and not to engage in conversation. So we created those meetings, but it really didn't lend itself to the kind of dialogue and conversation that our community members really wanted, or that we wanted, frankly. It wasn't a conversation, it was more presentation style, and it was more sort of, sit in groups and have conversations on a topic that we chose. And so what we're doing is restructuring that a bit, inviting stakeholders to our meetings earlier on a day when they're likely going to be here anyway. So as an example, our PTAs come and present to us once or twice a year.
Right.
On that day, when they're scheduled to be on the agenda, how about invite them to come a half hour early? Let's sit down, let's have a conversation, let's talk, let's engage in the two-way dialogue that our community had said they want, and we said we wanted. And it's a lot less structured. It's an opportunity for dialogue. If folks want to come in early, wonderful. If they don't, no pressure. It's just we're creating the space to allow them to come in and have those conversations with us. So that's the point of those monthly. Again, it's whoever is on the agenda, those will naturally evolve. We have the Education Foundation come in and present to us once a year, and so forth and so on. We're just inviting those folks to come in a little earlier and to actually have the dialogue. That's the plan. And so I think by doing that, we're solving for some of what the Community Engagement and Communications Committee was doing. We'll find out if that happens or not. If it's not working well, then maybe we'll, invite the committee to reform, to get back to, the intention.
Right.
But that's what the intention of this work is. And I'm hoping that it does start to create that opportunity to have more dialogue and communication with our community. Mrs. Heinrich?
Yeah, well, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm hearing your words, and I'm going back to goal 4, like the first one, in collaboration with the superintendent, develop a comprehensive stakeholder. So who's going to collaborate? It sounds like committee work. That sounds like a committee job to collaborate. Number 2, hold community sessions scheduled regularly to enhance. So who's going to collaborate and discuss those? And so again, that sounds like committee work, strengthen partnerships, inviting these things. It sounds like everything, all the bullet points in here is committee work. And so when we're saying that we're going to collaborate, then who's going to collaborate if the committee doesn't drive the collaboration?
So the superintendent has been instructed to develop this stakeholder list. I'm working with the superintendent we speak weekly. You guys are also invited to meet with her. I'm not sure what your cadence or frequency of meetings is, but those are the opportunities to have that conversation, is the thought. So that's already underway. We're not developing that list. We're informing and contributing to it, but we've asked the superintendent to develop that stakeholder list, and it's actually part of her goals as well.
Right.
And those members of the community that are not with PTA or the Ed Foundation, I would still like to see them included in those conversations as well, opposed to being like, well, you're the community member that we are not including. I would like to see those community members invited into those conversations and have them to be involved as well. Because although many of them don't have students in the district, several of them serve very well in the community, such as in their HOAs or in other things. So I'd like to see them take part in some of these.
I completely agree. That's a huge part of our population. I think at one point, it's like 60% of our population or more don't have children in the school district.
In the district.
That's just that I'm fully expecting that that's part of this list.
Thank you.
And I agree with your point, Mrs. Smith. And again, I just feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but it just sounds like those are things that a committee could discuss and handle and figure out ways to do it. And to your point of the community engagement committees, the community engagement things recognize that those structured formats weren't working and they were moving away from that. And the dialogues evolved to more freestyle and inviting things. And there were actions being taken, as a result of it. We're actually, putting an addition on to Farmington High School and dedicated space for a STEM facility. And that came out of a community dialogue conversation there. Our first one was on safety, and there have been so many upgrades into the district and so many investments. And that was listening to the feedback from the parents on safety, and as athletics also. So, I mean, there were special interest groups where the parents came out in, they came out in numbers and spoke. And it was really well received by the district, because the district did take notes and did take action and, do things and make changes as a result of those things. But again, it's evolving, and, really seeing the importance of, having a committee it sounds like you should be on the community engagement committee, number 3, to invite those stakeholder groups in.
And I appreciate this conversation, and I appreciate your feedback, because it's very important to hear all of this. But you did have some people that were more interested. I mean, if we talked about Hackbox, this room was filled. But if we had somebody that wanted to talk about policy and wanted to see something, I mean, I'm a nerd when it comes to policy. I love policy. So you may have maybe 2 or 3 people here, and then you may have somebody like Bill here that is constantly giving us the once-over when it comes down to our literacy programs. So I'm not saying that it should, where I'm at is I think it should grow and give it some time. It didn't work to the way that some of us wanted it to go. But if we do it in a different way, I'm not saying that we just totally just, throw it in the trash and never bring it back. But what I'm saying is what you need. What I'm hearing in the community is people want to see us. Some people are intimidated by just coming in here. But then there's others that would love to see us in the buildings, as Ms. Weems said tonight, and how we've heard the testimony from you as well as you about going into the schools. This is what I'm hearing, is that staff and parents want to see us hands-on in there. And then, then you get the email that, hey, wait a minute, you ain't got policy number 0078560 up there. And you need community members like that as well. So I think that it would be in the best interest that if we do it, let's just, let's undo the belt buckle and let some room out for a minute, and let's lose a little of those pounds and come back and see where we want to go with bringing this back. But as of right now, to have people come in here and take away not only our time, but their time, and there may be 3 or 4 people here. And I do agree. We did have people that were very interested. The Hack Box is getting some things. I think that we should have community dialogue and discuss the Mercedes-Benz building is going away. So what is the city going to do about that? Is that something that we would want to take interest in and do something? So those are the things that, so I'm not arguing you down, Ms. Heinrich.
Oh, no, I'm just having a fruitful discussion.
Right.
I'm listening, providing feedback, and,
Right.
moving forward.
Mr. Jacinto?
Yeah, thanks you, President Weems. I did attend a committee workshop at MASB, and I'll share the deck, but just a reminder, as you form, make sure there's a purposeful statement and there's a distinct purpose and goals that are said. I'm not sure we do. And then also, we could also form ad hoc committees, right? These are great standing committees, in my opinion, and we don't need to have any more. And the worry, again, is committee creep, right? There are some boards that have 8 to 10 standing committees as well as ad hoc committees. So that's, again, something that we also should be cautionary about.
Absolutely.
And to be honest with you, that is my concern. I think we have a lot of work to do, and I want to make sure that we're not overly taxing our board members with too many committees. I think the work that we want to do will get done. And I think as a board, we can all make sure that we're weighing in on the stakeholder list and, along the way assessing whether the work that we want to see get done as it relates to community engagement is actually working. Did you have something?
No, sis,
Okay.
the mic.
Okay. So with that said, we're going to monitor going forward, and if we feel like this raises up to the level where we need to do something differently, then we'll have a discussion. Sounds good. Thank you for that discussion. As far as representatives are concerned, Mr. Walker is going to serve as our representative for diversity and inclusion. Mr. Hull for Head Start. Mr. Racinto will take over for the legislative appointment. Mrs. Heinrich will continue to serve on the Oakland County School Boards Association along with the PTA Council. I will continue to support the Student Roundtable. Dr. Blau will continue on the Education Foundation. I will take over for FAPN, and Mrs. Smith will continue with the Youth and Family Services.
Yeah.
All right. Finally, I wanted to make the board aware that there's a new requirement being considered that requires a school district that accepts II.A funding to waive all privileges if they were to become the subject of a state investigation under subsection 9, which generally means if you're accepting II.A funding, which is like mental health, security, that type of funding, and I think for this district it's about $2 million. If we decide to accept this funding right now, we would be required to waive all of our privileges. Ultimately, if there were a mass casualty event, schools who accept this funding are agreeing to waive their right to speak freely with their attorney. It may increase some civil liability, increasing a school or administrators' exposure to claims. It may also open communications between administrators and legal counsel. It may have some operational impacts. It could reduce some transparency in areas and safety and mental health planning in how people feel comfortable speaking about things in consideration of the fact of that waived attorney-client privilege. And it could also potentially expose information that would otherwise remain confidential, such as witness interviews. So it's my understanding that we're still unclear as to whether we may be required to waive that privilege by
November 16th.
November 16th in order to receive this funding. If we're required to do, let me back up for a second. This is currently a subject of a lot of hot debate, and it may be litigated, we're not sure. So if it is, it's likely there'll be a stay on that decision-making, but I wanted to make sure that you were aware that this was coming. I sent you an email sort of describing some of this. Thank you to Dr. Coffin for sharing some of that came from our attorneys, Thrun and Collins and Blaha. We don't know whether we're going to have to make a decision on this or not. Right now, it looks like it's trending that we would have to make a decision by November 16th, in which case we would have to call a special meeting. So I wanted to make you aware because we don't have another meeting for 3 weeks. This is an unusual time of year. I think because of the election day, we're not meeting. We're kind of skipping a week. And because of the holiday for Thanksgiving. So wanted to make you aware of that. Please read that material because if we do have to make a decision, it will be helpful for you to read up on that. Go ahead.
Jennifer Smith spoke about that when she gave her legislative update at the MASB conference and how the language currently regarding this part of the budget is very problematic. And
Yeah.
So what did she recommend that districts do? Does MASB have a recommendation?
no.
I think
MASB wouldn't have a recommendation. I think attorneys right now are leaning towards this has precedence for more than just a school environment. Once you start talking about waiving attorney-client privilege, that sort of creates this kind of scope creep beyond just school environments. It also creates or reduces sort of immunity on the point of staff members, which is something that is highly unusual as well. And so there's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo around here, and I don't think MASB is in a position to make a recommendation. Our lawyers are not even in a position to make a recommendation. At this point, they're recommending that we hold tight for a second, let this play itself out a bit more, because they currently just don't see how something like this could hold legal weight, especially, requiring anyone to waive attorney-client privilege, because it goes beyond waiving privilege just in that instance. Once you start creating an environment where you can simply, authorize waiving that privilege, because you're not just waiving it for the district, you're talking about like some personal accountability as well.
Right.
And you can't require a person to waive their attorney-client privilege. Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. Appreciating what you just said, but also keeping in mind that nothing can go beyond what we might think it would be. And you did mention that it's kind of trending towards the possibility that we may have to weigh in on this. How can we have some kind of conversation without violating II.A. to be able to at least get our minds around where we as a board might be thinking about this? Because what I would be concerned about is it lands, we have to make a decision, it's the 16th, and we're now forced to have a discussion and make a decision all at the same time. This is something that requires, I think, some well-thought-out conversations as collectively as we can without violating II.A., or at least individually, or whatever we can do to do it properly and in order. But this is, I don't want to get to the 16th and we not have had any kind of discussion about it personally.
I don't disagree with you at all. This is very new for me. I'm just learning of it. I think the first thing or step for all of us is to read. You probably have about 15, 16 pages worth of documents in your email inbox. Please do your homework. And then I think we're going to have to meet unless something happens where this is stalled. We will need to meet, and we should probably, to your point, meet well in advance of the 16th to make sure that we have enough time to get ourselves comfortable, because something like this, I would imagine, would take more than one discussion. We'll probably leave the first discussion with a lot more questions for our attorneys and experts, give them time to respond back to those questions and so forth and so on. I can say that from what I read, there are some recommended actions that districts could take in terms of a resolution. I need to read up on that a little bit more. That may offer some protections. I'm not sure, but I need to read more and, frankly, ask some more questions. Mrs. Smith and then Dr. Blau.
So are we going to be able to educate the community as well? Because we're going to probably have questions from the community. What will most likely happen is when we sit down and have these discussions, they need to have that information as well in layman terms, so that when a decision is made, they should be able to be, I'm not saying weigh in, but they will be educated on what we are discussing as well, so that they can know, so that they won't be like, well, they made a choice in the decision, and they didn't take in the feedback from all of us.
I appreciate everything that you guys are saying, which is why I'm sharing right now this, hey, this is coming. Please take a look. I appreciate that people will have questions. Dr. Blau?
I'm just wondering if perhaps we shouldn't get a couple of special meetings scheduled. We can always cancel them, just in terms of finding some dates.
That's the point of this conversation, for sure. Following this, we will need to look at some dates that were available, for sure.
And please know, I'll continue to keep you updated in my weekly communications. This is
Right.
new for all of us. So the information, we get additional information each day. So, I appreciate President Weems just bringing this up so it's on your radar, but just knowing we are still working through what this really means.
Right, because the last thing I wanted to do was call a special meeting and the community is like, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
When I knew
right.
today
Yeah,
what
right.
was coming up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
would it be premature to Ms. Smith's point that I know that things are still in process, and I know staff and team are still working it through, but would it be premature to find that information, put it out on the website for people to be able to look at and digest at this particular point? Or should we hold tight for just a little bit? Until we get a little closer to seeing what the legislature might be looking at?
So, good question. I think anybody can Google right now, 31AA. I don't know that we have any more information than what you might find in a Google search. Unless, I don't know if MASB had some better information. I think there's information out there. I mean, things happen with our current administration, like it feels like on a daily basis. There's something new that comes out that we need to react to. This is the latest of those. And so I'd encourage anybody who's interested in this. It's called 31AA. That's the funding. If you type that in, just type in 31AA controversy or issue or something like that, and it'll pop up for you. That's good point if anybody's interested. I don't think that we don't have anything to say about it except to present the facts that currently exist out there.
I think Mr. Lubaway will be pulling it up, right?
Well, and the conversation was about accepting the funding and having to agree to waivers, but part of the conversation would be about what is this funding and how will the district manage if we reject the funding?
Correct.
And so that needs to be part of the conversation.
Absolutely.
It's like, how can we operate and what impact is going to have on district operations? Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a
I don't know
good
that the
point.
district is in a position to answer that right now, because this is kind of new. They probably need to evaluate that for us in advance of our meetings.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And usually, and I'm kind of interested because usually, like, with the legislative updates, MASB always talks about all the different bills, and they talk about whether they support them or they don't support them. And so it just seems like I would like some, like,
I
bigger
think,
people's.
I can't speak for MASB,
Yeah.
but I don't think they support it.
Okay,
Yeah,
I don't think we know enough to have a
Right,
support.
right.
okay,
It is just that new, and the timeline is just that quick.
Yep.
okay.
Both are true.
So it sounds like there's a purpose to having a quick timeline, so people don't have time to make well-informed decisions. Or
Could be.
I shouldn't have said that out loud.
Could be. Okay, so that was a pretty long update, but we got through a lot of really good things, and I think I'm happy that we have our board goals completed, and we had this really healthy discussion on a topic that we may have to vote on. I think this might be one of the most important things that we'll have to talk through potentially if this goes through this entire year. So, all right, with that said, we will now move to public comment. Do we have any public comment cards?
They're in order.
Thank you. All right, first we have Mr. Lubaway. And just as a reminder, for public comment, we ask that you speak to the board and not to anyone in the audience. Please make sure that your comments are respectful. If you're speaking about a person, please refrain from names where anonymity would be more appropriate. Each person will have 3 minutes. Generally, the board does not respond to public comment, but if it's appropriate, someone may contact you following the board meeting. Mr. Lubaway, followed by Henrietta Forshey.
I'd like to speak about the ABCs. And you have a handout in front of you, and the second page of that is a whole bunch of numbers that are going to confuse you, or maybe they won't. And so I'd like you to look at that as I go along. And what I'm addressing here is, why does Michigan's kindergarten through 12th grade education rank 44th among the 50 states? 44th. For openers, I pulled data for our home district here and for 3 neighboring districts. I focused on reading proficiency and poverty, which are known to be negatively correlated. Reading proficiency goes down as poverty goes up. So I looked at a couple of things, letter grades and poverty. And would any of you be happy if your child came home with a 56% on tests and did that routinely? 56%? Well, when we look at letter grades, which is what I did, I figured we needed a point of reference. So I dug out a letter grade scale that you're used to seeing. That's on the right page of the middle of the sheet. And I looked at the 4 districts, which are on the left side. And we had the district, which is Novi, for example, which is #1 in the niche ratings for the state of Michigan. And their rating is, they're #1. Their grade of C is based on 73%. South Lyon is a D with a 61% reading. Farmington is an F, 56%. Southfield's an F, 36%. And I can't think of anybody who would hire somebody who can only read at grade level in any meaningful job. So Novi's #1, that's, I know I'm not going to get to the end. But what I'm going to do is poverty. Michigan is among the 10 states struggling with poverty. And in Michigan, 17.8% of Michigan's population under 18 is below the poverty level. 3 of the 4 districts I studied are higher than 17.6%. Education is a key stepping stone that's going to help individuals and families get out of poverty. And so what I'd like to say is many children come to public schools poor. Do they have to leave poor?
Thank you, Mr. Leboway. Next is Henrietta Forshee, followed by Mark Forshee.
This is a warning regarding the Michigan Board of Education radical proposal, SBE, Health Education Standards. This is from Chloe Cole, her regrets and reflections on gender transition. 1, feeling the decision came too early. Chloe began her transition at age 12 and later stated that she was too young to understand the consequences. She regrets that adults allowed her to make such major medical choices before she was mature enough to comprehend long-term effects. 2, medical interventions and irreversible effects. She began puberty blockers and testosterone, followed by a double mastectomy at 15. She regrets ongoing physical complications such as urinary issues, chronic pain, and infertility. She mourns the loss of the ability to breastfeed future children. 3, transition did not resolve emotional distress. Chloe has said that the transition did not heal her inner turmoil or mental health struggles. Despite expectations, she continued to experience depression and suicidal thoughts even after surgery. 4, regret over counseling and clinical guidance. She feels that medical professionals did not address underlying emotional or developmental conditions before recommending transition. She and her parents were told transitioning was the only option to prevent suicide, a statement she now considers misleading and coercive. 5, social and identity consequences. After transition, Chloe reported isolation and loss of identity. She says she lost her sense of self and much of her adolescence, feeling disconnected from peers and her former self. 6, body image and appearance regrets. She has expressed grief over irreversible physical changes, such as a deepened voice, broader shoulders, and loss of feminine features. Looking in the mirror, she sometimes feels unrecognizable. 7, wish for different guidance. Chloe has said she wishes she had received compassionate counseling and support instead of immediate affirmation. She now encourages young people to value their bodies and understand that God does not make mistakes. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Forshee, followed by Melissa Francis.
Hello, this is the third meeting in a row where Terry Weems has actually brought up a problem of attendance and said, we need to do this. You need a lot more of that. We have a problem, and actually just discuss it, so good for you, Terry Weems. That's what we need to see more of rather than some of the other things, so good for you. And in fall of last year, there was a bill before the state legislature, a sex education bill, but it was voted down. But the State Board of Education has tried to sneak it through, because one party rules, they got their way, and they were going to go ahead with this to try to get it into the schools. But today they were having hearings in the House in, I believe it was the House in Lansing, and a lot of people are very opposed to this. It's quite perverse. And we'll have to see how it works, but they were talking, Dr. Carnell was talking about, well, the state is just setting the standards, but local, as I understand it, the local districts would be setting the curriculum for the sex education. And it does not sound all good. There were many examples given, but this just sounds, why? It's for K through 12, kindergartners, first graders. Why do we have to give that and have taxpayers forced to pay it, even though they strongly disagree with this form of education? Why do we have to have that? And why is it relentless? It's very strange when this form of sex education is push, push, push nonstop, and there's something very wrong with that. So I'm just curious, if it comes down to local district, and this is, well, implement it in the schools here, how many of you would fight against this sex education program? Why don't you raise your hands? And unanimous again. Wow.
Again, the board members don't respond to public comment. I just want to make sure that that's clear. Melissa Francis, and then Tessa G.
Good evening, board members. I wasn't really planning on speaking tonight, but I just heard the discussion on the Community Engagement Committee, and I just, in support of it. I'm here in support of it. I'm hearing that you'd have invited stakeholders come in, and perhaps it would be the superintendent that chooses those groups. And I'm a little concerned that not all the groups, like Ms. Smith said, would be invited in. So I don't know if there's an opportunity to self-select or how that would happen. I know I say we, the Hackbots, families and students and many community members attended the STEM dialogue. I know my family also attended the Reimagining High School dialogue. And, we found it helpful. They weren't always well attended, but I know for robotics, it was a nice opportunity for our families to come in and express. I'm not sure it was popular that we packed the house. I love that we packed the house. I love that our community came out to say, we're passionate about this, and I think you're right. This is part of the reason why we're heading toward an addition to the high school. So I would support that. I'd be remiss if I didn't comment on the sex ed discussion. I'm not sure what the new curriculum is. I would encourage you to keep sex ed in our classrooms. One of the rules in my household for my children was always, you can't date anyone whose family pulled them from sex ed. If you don't know about your own body, how are you going to know how to behave around other people? So please keep that, and be mindful of our trans kids. They're not a mistake. God didn't make a mistake with them, and we need to treat them gently and not ostracize them for who they are. Thanks.
Thank you. Tessa G., and then we have Ian Gibbons. And that is the last comment card that I have. If anyone is interested in public comment, please pick up a card and let us know. Otherwise, after Tessa G. and Ian Gibbons. We have no more public comment cards. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Tessa. I am here on behalf of the Hackbots. I am a sophomore at North Farmington High School, and I am the co-design lead for that team. Last weekend, we, as you can see here, went to Girls Comp, and we actually won that, so that is amazing. We just wanted to kind of share this experience. We found it was an amazing experience. I mean, it definitely helps that we won, but it's really amazing because it's a really great event for promoting girls in STEM, which is a very important aspect of robotics, because, I mean, that's half of your population. You need to make sure that you're supporting them. We found that you could connect a lot with the people there, and I will pass it off to Ian for a few more comments.
So at Girls Comp, I was in the stands. I took on a non-technical strategy role, and we had a great time in the stands. We were still contributing to this competition. We gave advice to our drive team. We helped them. We supported them. And then during our playoffs, where we went undefeated, we moved over with our Alliance teammates, and we had a great time in the stands with them. But I'd just like to thank all of you because we're really excited for that STEM addition onto Farmington. And we're looking forward to working with you as that gets adapted into our building. And then our last thing is just that we have our trivia night on November 7th that we're looking forward to. That'll be a good way for us to fundraise for ourselves. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment for this public comment period? There is a second public comment period after discussion items. Is there any further public comment? Seeing none, we will move to items from the secretary.
Yes, the board received communications regarding the board and superintendent goals for 2025-26. The board acknowledges all communications and response is appropriate. A list of correspondence is included in the board packet, which is available on the Farmington Public School website.
Thank you. We will now move to the legislative update. This will be your last.
Oh, that's okay.
Thank you.
Happy to share the responsibility.
The reins.
Yes.
Move the reins. Yes.
So a couple of things. Jennifer Smith is one of our VI.B legislative lobbyist representatives, and she gave a thorough report at the VI.B annual leadership conference this past weekend. Some of the highlights include some losses in funding for public schools in Michigan. She spoke of a $400 million loss to universities from the school aid fund. The gas sales tax was lost, but the state is required to replace it penny for penny on that piece. But she spoke about how even though we've seen an increase in the per pupil amount being funded, these other losses do have an impact. There was also a $100 million end in the MIPSers, which results in an overall loss per pupil for districts. So yes, when you look at the 10,000 and change amount per pupil that districts are being given, there are these other losses that we're incurring. $400 million and $100 million, that's a lot. So, yes.
One of the letters that the Government Relations Committee sent to the Lottery Commission to ask them for transparency and reporting, and I've been noticing the ads on TV saying 100% of lottery revenues go to public schools, whereas a lot of those significant portion of those funds are being diverted into different education categories other than public schools. Do you have any information on that? I just know that, I don't know the numbers, but I just wondered if they talked about that or had any information on that.
I don't have any particular notes on those specifics. I can get them for you though. But for example, shifting money from the school aid fund to, okay, universities, here you go, $400 million of our school aid fund. That's not a little amount. So one could argue, well, that's still education, but those dollars aren't coming to K-12 education.
Right.
And those aren't being replaced. So, but I'd be happy to get you some more specific.
Yeah, maybe that would be a nice thing to update our community
Sure.
so that we can watch those commercials knowledgeable.
Right, right. A couple of additional notes. At the federal level, because of the changes in the Department of Education, IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, that is moving from the Department of Education to the Department of Health and Human Services. So it's being shifted over, sort of the oversight of that funding. So
Say that again?
So IDEA is being shifted, it's being moved from the Department of Education to the Department of Health and Human Services, oversight of IDEA, of the funding and how the funding is distributed. This year is the 50th anniversary of the passing of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And when the legislation was passed mandating that we provide all students with a fair and equitable education in the least restrictive environment, when it was passed in 1975, the federal government promised to fund at least 40% of what it would cost us to provide those services to all of our students with disabilities. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. We typically have gotten far less than that, more like 10 or 11 or 12%. I'm not sure right now what it is. Dr. Coffin might know more specifically, but it's been very, very low. So, but because it's a federal mandate, we are legislatively required by law to provide those services, even though we have not been provided the federal funding. So it will be interesting to see, and I know some of us are concerned, what does this mean in terms of the degree to which IDEA will be funded going forward. Many of us have gone to Washington, D.C. For multiple years. I know Ms. Heinrich and I have gone for the Equity and Advocacy Conference multiple times, trying to advocate for full funding of IDEA, even if it's a gradual, increase year by year until maybe 10 years from now we're at the 40%. But there have not been significant changes yet. So it will be interesting to see, and we're keeping our eye on this so that as IDEA moves to the Department of Health and Human Services, what's happening with the percent of funding. Just a couple of additional things. We are one of very few states that still has been requiring the essay portion of the SAT. There is some pending legislation to remove the essay portion of the SAT and also to remove the SAT scores from student high school transcripts. One other thing. Last week, the House passed 2 bills, which would, this sounds small, that would exempt the trade-in value for personal electronics from sales tax. However, this exemption would apply to portable electronic devices, which are broadly defined as an electronic device that is portable and includes their accessories. House fiscal analysis states that this will cut revenues to the school aid fund by $9 million. So this seems like really so big deal that it's a big deal for schools, because that's another $9 million reduction in the school aid fund revenues. So just some things to be aware of. That's all.
Yes.
Just to add to what Dr. Blau shared, what the government is also doing from the federal side is they've moved Perkins funding, which substantiates a lot of CTE programs underneath the Department of Labor, and it's just something to keep an eye out for, because they allege that this is to limit and minimize bureaucracy and the administration of said funds. The organizations that I belong to actually are more concerned in the opposite direction, that this might slow funding coming to our CTE program. So it's just something to be aware of across the board. And then in addition to that, from a state perspective, the MySTEM network, which was used, it was the next iteration of our science consultants that we had across the state. The funding for the MySTEM network, which was to bring directors into various regions across the state, including ours here in Oakland County, that funding has been cut completely. Those directors are, at a certain point, will be out of their positions, which means the funding that would support a lot of authentic STEM activities going into schools will no longer be made, or will happen at least through that vantage point. Now, there is some work going on in back channels to try and see if that can be put into the supplemental fund at the start of the year. But the key to that is, as heard, every school district needs as many dollars as it can get, and it needs additional resources in terms of personnel to help support the work that teachers are doing inside of the classrooms. And that's just another unnecessary blow to public education specifically that we're taking. So I just wanted to share that information.
Thank you. Okay, we will now move into district updates. Dr. Coffin?
Thank you, President Weems. I do have a few there, but I'll try to zip right through them here. Last week, our leadership team met, and we dedicated our time to discuss strategies around fostering resilient leadership within our schools. This focus aligns with our current best practices and ensures that our administrators are equipped and supported as they navigate challenges across the district. I just recently returned, a little bit later than I wanted to, from a Thought Leaders Symposium in Chicago with district leaders around the country. The central theme was the crucial role of leaders in developing a culture of belonging and resiliency for both staff and students. It really, for me, was affirming to note that the discussions and insights that were shared directly through this strategic work are currently happening here at Farmington Public Schools. And I was able to share some of the great things we were doing and connect with people on that. Internally, we're excited that our first round of NWA assessments have been successfully completed. Our amazing teachers are now digging into that data to inform their instruction. They're focused not only on providing additional support for students who might need that, but also creating opportunities for acceleration for those who are ready for a more rigorous learning experience. I do want to extend my sincere thanks to President Weems and to Assistant Superintendent Rhonda Henry for their time and effort in meeting with the delegation from Italy. These are really invaluable partnerships that we will continue to build for our district. I was able to attend the dedication ceremony for the amazing art piece that was created by Marco and is now placed in City Hall for the city of Farmington. Finally, I was happy to attend the Chamber Gala and have the district the honor of presenting the award for the Small Business of the Year, which went to Road Less Traveled Books. Very supportive of our district. These events, again, continue to show our connections within and around our community. We talked a little bit about the Wood Creek visit, but thanks again to Trustee Heinrich and Trustee Hall for joining me at Wood Creek for the visit to see the math resource in action. Also a shout out to Rhonda Henry and Margaret Hendrickson, Principal Lewis, our instructional coach Ashley Delator, and our amazing teachers, Katie, Susan, who Mr. Hall kind of described a little bit earlier, and Andrea. Really for welcoming us into the classroom. You know, some of these teachers just started it this year, and they were very open and honest in showing what they had. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the superintendent goals. I had sent all the goals to the board, and I appreciate and thank you for your support and feedback in the development of these goals. The board, just as a reminder, the board does provides feedback all year to the work that I'm doing and leading in this district as part of the ongoing evaluation process. President Weems mentioned that as far as how often we meet and discuss the evaluation process. This includes updates not only on the work we're doing as strategic plan, but also in the work improving student growth and achievement, as that's a primary focus of why we do what we do. These goals that I shared are in addition to the work that happens as part of the evaluation process, and which is a requirement annually. So I want to just highlight the 4 goal areas. The first one is implementing the team-based staffing models and schedules that support student acceleration and professional learning. So truly our priority is to think differently about teaching and learning. We'll implement the team-based staffing models with some support from outside organizations who are helping this, and new schedules that are supporting our teachers in better collaboration to meet student needs. These teacher-led teams, again, are partnering with national programs in order to assure that our high-achieving students as well receive accelerated learning opportunities, and that's what we will be monitoring. This does not mean that we're not providing acceleration everywhere. It's just as we think about these SMART goals, we know we have these 5 buildings that are getting the additional support, and it's going to allow us to identify how that impacts the acceleration in student achievement and growth. Goal number 2 is developing structures and strategies for greater communication and community connection to support our vision, again, in alignment with the board goals. The Farmington Ambassador Network is going to be up and running. We have a meeting coming up with parents who are going to provide direct feedback and serve as advocates for our district. So by the end of the year, we will have met with 100%, have the opportunity for 100% of our community in multiple organized venues and ways to provide meaningful feedback on major district efforts, as their voice is very essential to us. Goal 3, develop a space and facilities plan. Again, this was also mentioned in combination with the work with the board. This is to ensure that our physical spaces support our academic vision for the next decade. The board has been very clear about wanting a 10-year comprehensive plan, and that's what we're working on. So that plan also, while we have been able to work through plans for the multi-purpose STEM addition at Farmington High, in part because we've been good stewards of the public dollars, the public funds. But this culmination of the work now will include specific programmatic needs around the entire district. And so that will help us as we think about future efforts. And then the 4th goal is the development of dashboards to support timely and accessible data for district. If you're here at the board meeting, I know individually with the board and collectively, we talk a lot about data and really wanting to understand what are the measures we monitor to ensure that our kids are on track or are moving in the right direction. And so as I really thought about the types of goals that I really wanted to focus on is getting a system where you have that data versus, because we don't have it readily always available. It sits in different systems in our organization. So by June of 2026, we are going to have these dashboards available to be able to be used and really as a way to unify the view of our progress. So I'm excited about that work. That's my goal piece. Next, I want to welcome Mr. Brad Paddock to the podium to introduce our new Director of Career Pathways and Workforce Innovation, Hallie Snyder.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Coffin. I'm pleased to introduce to you Hallie Snyder as the recommended candidate for the position of Director of Career Pathways and Workforce Innovation. Pending board approval this evening, Hallie will officially begin her role on November 12th. This newly created leadership position is designed to expand pathway opportunities for every student in our district. Hallie will oversee career and technical education, K-12 career readiness, work-based learning, and STEM programming, as well as CTE leadership and workforce partnerships. In her most recent role as Director of Career Focus Education for Southfield Public Schools, she expanded CT offerings from 6 programs to 19 career pathway concentrations, and she articulated that process very well throughout the interview process. Definitely something that caught our attention. She also established strong partnerships with local businesses, resulting in mentorships, scholarships, and paid internships for students, in which we are excited to have her bring that experience and have that come alive right here in Farmington Public Schools for our students. Her previous experiences include serving as a coordinator for career-focused education and curriculum in Birmingham schools, assistant principal for curriculum and instruction at the Lenawee Intermediate School District Tech Campus, and director of curriculum and student support for Oscoda area schools. This appointment marks a very important step moving forward for Dr. Coffin and for Farmington. By aligning career-focused education with our already established vision, mission, profile of a lifelong learner, we will equip our students with the skills and confidence to discover and develop their unique strengths and career interests. Hallie, on behalf of Dr. Coffin and the entire cabinet team, congratulations on your appointment. To the board, Hallie and I, we will await your decision later this evening, so please join me in welcoming Hallie to the Farmington Public School staff.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam President, trustees, Dr. Coffin, and the community members. I am truly honored to join Farmington Public Schools as a new Director of Career Pathways and Workforce Innovation. I am a Farmington Hills resident, and I am thrilled to be supporting our schools. My past experience includes 11 years as a business education teacher in career and technical education, and 19 years in building and district leadership with a focus around curriculum, career and tech education, and also career readiness. I'm excited to work with our students, staff, families, all of you, and our community as well, to expand opportunities that prepare every student for meaningful careers and lifelong success. Thank you for welcoming me, and I am very excited to get started. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to offer a congratulations on behalf of the board. I personally, and I know Mr. Walker echoes this, I'm very passionate about CTE. I am especially passionate about workforce, as my job is workforce. But more importantly, study after study after study shows, in fact, I'm looking at a report that came out of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. 8 out of 10 hiring managers report that today's high school graduates are less prepared for work than in prior generations. And in general, high school graduates now are unprepared to enter the workforce directly, which is why I see your role as extremely supportive of the effort to improve those odds. Generally speaking, hiring managers are not interested in direct high school applicants. They're more interested in college graduates because they don't feel like they're prepared for workforce, except where those high school graduates have an industry-recognized credential. And that's what I'm hoping you're going to help us evolve into making sure that our young people have the skills that are necessary to enter employment, should they choose, immediately, or leverage those credentials that are stackable to help them get to some sort of degree. In either event, your work is extremely important, and we're thrilled to see this new role in our district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Heinrich.
Can I just make a comment? I kind of picked up that you had 11 years in plus 19 is 30 years in education. And I just want to highlight that, you're excited about staying in education and working, and those are the exciting things we're doing in Farmington, where we have educators that aren't trying to leave education, but they're excited about the work that we're doing and the innovation and the direction that we're moving and working with the young people. So really, thank you for choosing a career that really makes a difference in the lives of young people every day.
It is truly my passion. So to get to do my passion every day, I can't imagine anything else I'd rather do.
Mrs. Smith?
Congratulations and welcome to Farmington Public Schools.
Thank you.
I wish you the best. I would have loved to get to know you and know your work in the community. I love the fact that not only do you want to work here, you live here, and that's so important to know that you're a stakeholder. And I'm sorry that I won't get to be able to know you as I know many of the staff members, because November, the very first meeting, is my last meeting. So congratulations and welcome to Farmington Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Hull?
Thank you.
Yes. I appreciate folks that are very interested in career path ready for students. I am a graduate of an aerospace high school that's in the city of Detroit, and with that, I learned as like a 14-year-old how to weld, and as a 15-year-old how to fly airplanes. So with that type of knowledge, I'm not a pilot now or anything like that. So don't trust me if the plane goes.
But in a pinch.
In a pinch, I probably can get on the microphone or radio.
I wouldn't be riding with you.
But for that education, it creates a well-rounded student, because I have the academics, but also can change a tire or fix electronics if I need to. So I think that skill is very lost in today's society right now. That's the reason why that a plumber can come out to your house and replace a valve for $500 because nobody doesn't know how to do it anymore. So I think by you pathing the way for encouraging young people to get into the trades and to career readiness, that's so important, and I really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You can now. We'll go about that.
It's okay, I've enjoyed the walk. Thank you.
I was excited.
All right. Next, I would like to welcome up Mr. Chris O'Brien, Director of Student Support Services, to the podium to share an update on our most recent WIDA data.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Coffin. We're going to do just a brief update on our multilingual, or what you commonly know as EL department, and discuss our spring 2025 WIDA data. So one of our focuses that's really helped us to produce better data is working together with each department, the instructional department, the business department. And as you'll see when we talk about our staffing, this has helped us to be able to support our multilingual learners. So here's our current data. We have 24 EL teachers, or multilingual teachers. That's the most we've ever had. And that's a combination of working with the business office and instructional department to make sure we're supporting our students. We have 16 paraprofessionals, and we service, even though we have more multilingual students than this, the number that we service with instruction is 1,694. It's a lot of students. So 24 teachers and 16 paras doesn't seem like a lot, but they work very hard to support this very special population. One of the things we're doing currently is our Farmington Early Childhood Center has a number of multilingual students, and many of them will go to Farmington Public Schools. So we were finding that they weren't prepared for kindergarten. We weren't supporting them. So in the past year, we've given support. They have a teacher there that is supporting the students, testing them, and giving them instructional support, which helps them to be better prepared for kindergarten. And just quickly, you can just scan and see how our numbers are throughout our elementary schools, as well as our middle schools, and then our high schools. And what we're finding is our EL population, our multilingual learners, are really growing in the south end. So Farmington High, Power, Gill especially, some of those schools are growing, and so we have aligned our staffing to support those schools. So at this time, we're going to talk about our EL numbers and our WIDA data, and our new. So in the past, you've seen Inoska Wiltsey, who was with us many years. We've replaced her with the wonderful Emily Davis, and so she's going to talk about our WIDA data.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am Emily Davis. I'm the EL Coordinator for Programs and Curriculum, and I'm going to share our 2025 WIDA data. So every winter, our multilingual students, they take the WIDA Access Assessment. This measures their English language proficiency in 4 areas: speaking and listening, and reading and writing. So our first slide shows our whole district. This shows that in 2025, in the spring, when the data came out in July, we had 1,228 students who took the assessment. You can see that's the highest number that we've had with our historical data. And of those 1,228, 211 students were proficient. And when you score a proficient, when a student earns a proficient score on the WIDA, they are then exited from the service. Students are monitored after they are exited. We monitor them for 4 years. But I just wanted to show you that this great trend where more students exited than ever before in our school district. So we're very proud of that. We have submitted in the slides all of the schools. I'm just going to go through and just highlight a few, okay? So I'm clicking through, and we're going to stop at, so you don't have numbers there, slide 17. Longacre Elementary School is one of our elementary schools with our highest number of multilingual learners, and you can see there in 2025, 146 students were tested, and of them, 42 students exited in 1 year, so that's a great celebration. As well as Wood Creek, a bit smaller of a school, smaller population of students who were tested, but that same trend of more students exiting than ever before. So that was 2 elementary schools. Let's look at STEAM. STEAM is a K-8 building, and so you'll see the number 129 is a little bit higher because it's it includes all students K through 8 who are multilingual learners. And of them, 34 students exited. Let's go ahead and see Warner. You can see the numbers are slowly increasing. It's never been one of our highest number of population of students who are tested, but you can see that more students are passing and exiting. And then Farmington High, one of our high schools, you see again, we have more students being tested and a high number being exited. So, you know, we're very proud of the students, their hard work to reach proficiency on the WIDA Access Assessment. It is not an easy test. It's very challenging. And so we attribute this success to a few things. First of all, our district supporting the staffing model that we have. As Mr. O'Brien was explaining, we have EL staff at every school. So our newcomers who come in with very limited English, we have newcomer support at all of our schools now. So our teachers are giving support at higher number of hours based on need. And our teachers, our English language staff are very dedicated, and they're learning. They're constantly learning and working with our instructional department and our instructional focus with professional development. Right now, we're working on scaffolding supports so that our teachers are not changing the rigor of what we expect our students to be able to do, but really providing a great deal of support along the way, so that our multilingual students are, coming out stronger than ever. And we continue to work within professional development. And then what's not shown in our slides, but we just wanted to point out that on the state of Michigan My Data website, you can see on public-facing resources that our Farmington multilingual students are outperforming students in the state. So we're very proud of them and the hard work of the students and staff. Thank you.
Mrs. Smith?
I appreciate you bringing this information to us tonight, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I think this is amazing. And to see them growing and moving on and they are being tested. They're not just, you know, watching SpongeBob or Sesame Street and learning the English language. Because I've had students that came here from other countries, and I've had people say, just turn on SpongeBob. Well, that's not how you learn anything. And coming from a bilingual family myself, I'd like to know, how are you speaking to the parents? For, do you, like for parent-teachers conference or for curriculum night, is there someone there that can translate opposed to the student? So if the student is getting all bad grades, you don't want the student to tell the parent, I'm doing good, when we need the, you know, the parent is like, yes, okay. But I want to know if there's a teacher that is able to tell the student, the parent, that their child is struggling.
Absolutely. That is a great question. Thank you for bringing that up. We work really hard to provide interpreters and translated documents for our families. And so as, of course, we all know, Farmington is incredibly diverse with over 60 different languages spoken by our families. We do not have like a one-to-one match on those languages with staff, but we do have many, many staff members who can be interpreters for our families within our district. So we coordinate them to be at parent-teacher conferences, to be at IEPs and things like that. However, when we have students who speak a language that we don't have on staff, Sharon Elvey, who works in our department, coordinates our services with company and, you know, Language Live, and they can bring interpreters in very quickly. And then we also have a phone service that we use called Language Line, which is wonderful because you can put your phone on speaker. It's not as personal as having a person present, but you can use, we can ask for almost any language and have the phone on speaker and an interpreter right there translating for the teacher and the family.
And this is a person, or is it? Okay.
It's
it
a
is
person. It's just, we use Language Line when we don't have a person to come in physically.
Gotcha.
So we call and they ask what language, and then they get a person on the line to translate.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And we do have 83 plus languages here in Farmington.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm always cautious of saying that number because it changes, so thank you. It's so wonderful. We're also, if it's okay that I share, we're in the process of adding questions to our enrollment process so that we find out right away which families need an interpreter and which families need translated documents, so we can provide that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Mr. Hallie?
This is so important that the parents and students can connect to the curriculum. My question was I always wondered this: how do you keep the students caught up in certain materials or reading if you know they had to take English or writing and they had to learn the basic of just the English language to actually finish assignments. How's that? I mean, I'm not going into detail, but just how do you guys do that?
Thank you for asking that. It's really important work because as you are explaining, the content can continue and the learning continues. So our teachers work very hard to accelerate the learning. We focus on some foundational skills, right? You have to be able to learn certain foundational skills of reading and writing to be proficient, but at the same time our teachers work to support them to access harder texts. So sometimes we provide our multilingual students with a variety of books that have different levels, but still some mature content. There's other tools as well. We use our iPads and engagement strategies so that the students are engaging even if what they're absorbing at the time might not be as intense as someone who is proficient in English as they're a newcomer. Mr. O'Brien, would you like to add anything about that?
And what we do is with the WIDA assessment, you basically sometimes group students based on their skill set. So students who are newcomer, who are new to the language, they may be grouped together. They get more intensive support. The state says they should get an hour a day of support. So typically they're pulled out small groups and work with, sometimes one-on-one, maybe one-on-three. Students who are higher proficiency level, many schools like Hillside will put them in certain classes, kind of cohort them, and then the teacher will push in and sometimes co-teach. So you could go to schools like Hillside and see a third grade teacher working with an EL teacher, and they're working together teaching a lesson. It actually benefits all students, but especially our multilingual learners.
I had a quick question. On the flip side, if they show proficiency in their native language, will they get the world language credit for the MMC? If they show?
Yes, they can in high school. A lot of our students do that as well.
Okay.
Mrs. Heinrich?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. You talked about the number of teachers and then the parapros in the program. Do the parapros, do they need special qualifications? Do they get special training? It's hard to get good support staff, and so what support or how are these parapros selected, I guess I want to say?
So there's no special training per se. What we do have our own training that we give them. So we have a program, and I'm going to give credit to where it's due. The NOSCA WILT built a program with the state that trains parapros. So when we hire them, it teaches them really how to work with students. They work under the direction of the teachers. So most times they're assigned to work with students, many times students who are higher in terms of their language proficiency, but we do have a program at Farmington that we give them and use.
Okay, all right. And then the other thing, you talked about the students, the number of students testing out of the program. So is there like a expectation, like for the number of years that it takes to become proficient, or, because the goal is to be tested out of the program, or how, or is it just more individual?
The state average is 5. I'll let you speak to this one, because we just had the conference last week.
Yes, so we just had a wonderful conference in Lansing about special populations and providing support. The average in the state is 5 years of service. We're very proud that our data shows our average is 4 years of service. So we're a little bit above that average, but every child develops on their own pace, and we want to provide that support, what they need right now in the moment.
Okay, and Mrs. Smith touched on, but you support the families as well as the individual students then?
So our CSS department works, so really the beauty of it that the district has done, I would say you guys as a district have supported having a Hattie Lagan and a Shannon Daniels to work with us. They coordinated with the NOSCA in the past, so we do support those families with translation, with services as well, even in terms of helping them use MyStar. Because MyStar is not easy for a lot of parents who are English speakers to use, much less those who are learning a language. So we support them with all of that.
Mrs. Smith?
So if you have a student that can't test out, and that child is in the 4th grade, and that child needs to go to 5th or 6th, does that child stay with that group? So what if that child is a slow learner and can't pick up the language? I don't want to see a 16-year-old still in the class with the 4th graders. So what are we doing to help those students that it takes a long time to get the, early language, to learn English?
And that does happen. So in some cases, before we had East Middle School, which was our newcomer program, to go along with North, that could give more intensive support. But what we did is restructured our staffing so that all the middle schools have more staffing. So instead of East having like 4 teachers, now Power has more teachers. So those students get more support. We want them in the classroom, we want them with other students, but they may be pulled out and given more support to help them along the way. And one of the things, and I credit the EL teachers with this, they communicate really well. We meet once a month, and they will talk about those students. So if we have a student that we know is struggling, they will say, hey, this student's struggling in 5th grade, they need more support. So we always communicate so that when they go to middle school or high school, the teacher already knows that this student may need more support, and we can give them that support.
And that student won't be held back?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, I'd like to welcome Ms. Rhonda Henry, our Assistant Superintendent for Innovation and Strategic Initiatives. She is going to present the next 2 items under discussion, the district dashboard and a school of choice update.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Coffin. I will give an update on our district dashboard this evening. Our strategic plan represents our ongoing commitment to equity, excellence, and authentic learning. As you can see on the blueprint here, tonight this presentation will include several of the elements on our school blueprint: adult roles, hiring and learning, curriculum, instruction and assessment, school, community, and culture, and continuous learning and improvement. We have 4 goal areas that we continually monitor, and these goal areas have been consolidated throughout the last 6 years. Many of you served on committees that we had with our community members over the last 6 years, and our teacher leaders led those committees along with our administrators as co-leaders. So we have consolidated those based on all of the feedback that we have been given from the community, and these are our 4 goal areas: innovation for teaching and learning, health and wellness through social emotional learning, culture for equity and innovation, collaborative professional learning that supports equity and innovation. As you know, also in your board packet is our strategic planning dashboard. We monitor those goals throughout the school year, and we have key indicators that we choose and we monitor in order to see progress throughout the school year on these goals. We have a key there that you can see. The green is that we are seeing success in the goal. The yellow is there's moderate success, and the red is that we are not seeing progress towards the goal, and that's how we continually monitor. Our dashboard is also listed on our strategic planning website. New this year, our cabinet team that meets weekly has a cadence of accountability. Each cabinet member focuses on areas within the strategic plan that their department directly influences. So every cabinet meeting when we meet, we've started this cadence of accountability where each member shares responsibility for moving the plan forward. So we look at the goal areas and the key indicators, specific key indicators that every department influences, and we talk about what is happening specifically that week to move the work forward. And it creates a living, breathing document for our strategic plan. So I'll provide a snapshot this evening of performance indicators across those 4 areas. A full dashboard can also be found in your Board of Ed packet, as I mentioned. At the September Board of Ed retreat and the September Board of Ed meeting, as you know, we went over the state assessment updates that were provided and aligned with the strategic plan. So to start, our first goal area of innovation for teaching and learning, we identified key indicators to show our progress in deepening learning and engaging in continuous improvement, also fostering a culture of belonging for all. Last June and also this September, we shared the district performance on NWA and state assessments, and those indicators you can see throughout all 4 of our goal areas. We've had conversations with the board on how we have phased our work in the area of literacy and math, and how our supplemental resources and instructional supplemental tools have helped us in reaching our goals. Today, we are adding new data. As you'll see, the EL Skills Block Assessment, that's new data that you have not seen, and that is reflecting our fall 3rd grade performance in foundational skills. We saw an increase of 23% of our 3rd graders meeting or exceeding foundational skills readiness in the fall. We will continue to monitor that impact and give you a quarterly update on that in December. Health and wellness through social emotional learning. We have identified key indicators that show and reflect strong well-being for our students, staff, and our families, as well as staff being aware of what our students need. And last June, we shared that on-track attendance, which is something that we've had lots of discussion on, that on-track attendance is one of the measures that we're monitoring. And so on-track attendance is done a year behind. So our data that you have in the packet is 2022-23 compared to 2023-24. However, we have an update on our attendance dashboard just yesterday. And we are working to get a comprehensive report to you that will be included in your Friday's Board of Ed update, as it just happened yesterday. But it is also included in our data and assessment page on the FPS website. You can see here, and this is the data that we just received, a 1.6 increase in the percentage of students with on-track attendance. Today, we're adding new data from our district-wide survey, which is an HR engagement survey, and that's a nationally normed tool that provides insights into staff perceptions. And so the data shows that staff job satisfaction aligns with the national average, and we are analyzing safety-related responses, both physical and emotional responses, to better understand current perceptions and guide our improvement. This HR engagement survey, I want to note, is for all staff, not just teachers. So we're continuing to analyze that data. Additional data on student perception is coming in February. This is the Michigan Profile for Healthy Youth survey, and that's given every 2 years. And so we will continue to update you on the student perception data. Equity, culture of equity and innovation. And within this goal area, we identified key indicators for students and for staff. So the next slide is staff. This one is for students. And we identified how our efforts are expanding access. We've talked before about that Tier 1 and access for all. So our indicators are how are we expanding access to grade level instruction to ensure that all students are achieving at high levels as we redesign the school experience. So this slide shows our student indicators. Again, in June and September, we shared NWA and state assessment data performance with you, and we have insights into shifts in our instructional resources and practices, and we continue to examine our performance. As Dr. Coffin just said, we had the fall NWA window that just closed, so we continue to analyze that. Today, we're adding new data to the dashboard related to both access and performance. And so you can see on this slide that we've had an increase in our special ed by 3%, and we factor in how the restructuring of the special ed service model has resulted in that increase as students have access to general ed programming for more than 80% of their day. And as you can see here, we also have, while the percentage of our 11th and 12th grade students taking advanced coursework has slightly increased, we still are focusing on ensuring equitable access to all of our students, and that remains an area of focus. This slide is on our staff. In terms of culture of equity and innovation, we're examining staff-related indicators. In June, we shared data of showing growth in staff confidence. This was from our Learning Work survey. Staff confidence in designing learning experiences that are aligned with our profile and AMT. The data is shown here again and will be updated in the winter following the next administration of the Learning Works survey. And today we're adding new data from our HR engagement survey. And the results show strong performance in the area of staff feeling that they have a meaningful impact on the success of Farmington Public Schools. But at the same time, we're reflecting on the data related to staff connection to our mission, and seeking a deeper understanding into those perceptions as it doesn't align with our experiences and the work that we're doing right now. And again, this survey is sent to all staff, not just teachers. And lastly, the goal area of collaborative professional learning that supports equity and innovation, we identified key factors that reflect our progress in creating meaningful opportunities for staff to learn and grow, and a deeper understanding of how to implement authentic learning experiences. So in June, again, we shared data from our professional learning participation in the Learning Work Survey, which highlights how staff are engaged in professional learning, aligned to our district priorities, and we anticipate, I put this on here again, because we anticipate that this will be a continued growth in these areas. We will update you again in the winter on these measures. We also included sub-coverage in this as it shows that we have a commitment in FPS to support our teachers and their professional learning. And this is a timeline of our dashboard updates so that you know what to expect. In December, the dashboard will include our graduation rate, special education participation, and advanced coursework, and we will continue to provide you ongoing updates throughout the school year. We are working on creating a new dynamic district dashboard, as Dr. Coffin indicated as she referenced her goals, and here is a sneak peek to our real-time dashboard. So we have been partnering with a company called Anive K-12 360, and this dashboard that you can see pictured here is a live public-facing scoreboard, and it shows in real time what the percentages are and how, for our key indicators, and how we are progressing towards each goal area. So we are excited about being able to show this and have this on our website, and as Dr. Coffin had said, being able to have data right at our fingertips and be able to analyze it in that way. So until then, you will have to visit our current dashboard and on our website. It can also be found on the QR code here. And in closing, as you know, we are really working on changing the student experience, and that requires system change, and that is what our strategic plan allows us to do. And it is an active, living, breathable document that we are constantly looking at and monitoring. And the four goal areas show that interconnected work that we're engaged in.
Mrs. Heinrich, then Mrs. Smith.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Thank you for sharing this and the work, and these aren't questions that require an answer right now. They're
Okay.
just, for future. But I kind of keyed in on the EL skills block, and we saw double-digit increases at the elementary where that was implemented. And so then we're looking at middle school and we're looking at PSATs. And so what's a reasonable expectation for how long we're going to see those gains that are starting at the middle school? How long is the expectation to see those gains, moving forward? Because obviously the kids in middle school right now don't have access to, or they did not have access to the improvements that we're making in elementary. So I'm just curious to see if there's projections or thoughts along there as far as goals.
Yeah.
And then in the middle school math, I think there was a drop in that also, but we have a new curriculum now, the illustrative math. And so I'm just kind of curious, what are the improvement goals that you're expecting to see, and as far as the timeline for that, as far as the translation and that, and also with that also, I mean, you're putting in things in the elementary school with the Magna Math, and you talked about additional dedication or everyday math really hasn't been implemented with fidelity, and this year you're concentrating on teacher training and using the program with fidelity. And so, again, you know, what are the anticipated goals for that, and when will we see those things translate? And then the other thing I had a question was the staff perception. I mean, whenever there's an arrow going down, of course you pick up on that, but there was one on safety, and it was the 4PR in the HR engagement survey, and I didn't really understand what that meant as far as...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
As what that was. So just a clarification. I think that was on slide 8.
Sure, yeah.
What you're measuring, or what the PR stood for, or what the number was.
So the PR was percentile rank.
Was what?
Percentile rank, so 4th percentile rank.
Percentile rank?
Yep.
Okay.
So, and as I had mentioned, that was an area that did not seem to align with everything else on the staff engagement survey, and we're looking into that so we can disseminate the data. It is what it was given to all staff, so it's just trying to understand, you know, what those perceptions were, and we're, you know, also thinking it's physical and emotional safety, so just, you know, we share the same questions, and we're looking into that.
Well, yeah, and that's, I mean, whenever you measure things, I mean, it's not just to have a score, it's what do you do with it? Because
Sure.
if you don't measure it, then you don't know, you know, where the problems are. So
Yeah.
I expect, I mean, your response is what I expected, that you're looking into it and finding out, you know, that's a reason for measuring it. So again, thank you for your work.
Yeah.
Mrs. Smith?
I had a question. Well, first, I want to thank you for your presentation, but I also appreciate that not only are you doing the dashboard on the students' attendance, it's important for our staff to be at work, too. This is why, you know, you may see some, you know, test scores may be low or what have you. I personally don't want to keep seeing teachers, you know, on cruise ships, and we're supposed to be in school, or being influencers with Mickey Mouse ears on and everything, when they should be in the schools. They're being paid to be here to teach our students. So I thank you for that. But I also looked at the culture of equity and innovation. There was a 7 percentile down that says staff feel like they are not part of the mission for Farmington Public Schools, and that has decreased. Did anybody ask why they felt like that? Because even a small percentage, I don't want it to grow. You know, what was the reasoning why they didn't feel like they were part of the mission statement?
And that's part of our future monitoring, is trying to understand, you know, what that number represents, and it's asking more questions, as you said. So I don't have that information right now, but those are our wonderings as well, and we're going to continue to dive into that.
Okay. But if we want to hold our students accountable, I'd like to see our staff be held accountable as well when it comes down to attendance. So thank you.
Yep, thank you. And that is something that we monitor, too, the staff attendance.
Thank you for this presentation. This marks, for this school year, 1 of 4 times when we're going to review our dashboard. I'm pleased in some areas, and I know we've got some areas to grow. I'm really excited about the dynamic dashboard that's coming. This is something we've never seen before, we've never had before, we've never had a dashboard before, so I feel like we're constantly moving in the, excuse me, in the right direction when it comes to data and our reviews of data and transparency around it. So thank you very, very much.
Welcome.
All right, next up is School of Choice.
Okay, you want me to do that now?
First, we have reports from board committees. I don't think we have any. I'm just going to check with folks, but I did want to mention that we do have a policy committee coming up, a policy committee meeting coming up and on Thursday, and so wanted to, I have already shared some things with the chair that I'd like to see there, and wanted to just make sure that folks were reminded that we'll be having that meeting. I think we're ready to move to the next area.
Thank you.
Okay.
School of choice, you're up again.
Okay, it's just pulling up here. Okay, so each year, the Board of Ed is required to approve our requests to continue to participate in schools of choice. And so I want to review what the board will be asked to approve at our next board meeting and provide an update of where we are with school of choice, seeing that our count day was just completed in October. Sorry. So when we reference school of choice, the board approves section 105, but there's also other choices that we allow for our residents and also our staff. And the first being the intra-district school of choice for families who live in Farmington Public Schools, and this is an opportunity for them to request to send their child to another building that is not in their home catchment area. The next is our PA 227 School of Choice, and those are for our staff members who live outside of Farmington Public Schools boundary, but they have an opportunity to bring their children to Farmington Public Schools through this option, and we have several staff who choose to do that. And then our section 105 limited schools of choice, and that's what you approve. And those are for families that live outside Farmington Public School boundaries but reside in Oakland County. They're eligible to apply through section 105 school of choice. And FPS does limit the number of students accepted by building and grade levels. And so grade levels, it's a cap of 20 from kindergarten to 8th grade, and in 9th grade, it is 40. So I wanted to give you an overview of where we are in terms of 2025-26 Section 105 enrollments. And so we had 240 applications that were submitted, and this was an increase from last year, which we had 221 applications. And we limited the elementary buildings because of capacity. We also removed third-party affidavit as an option, which did impact some submissions, but our submissions were increased this school year. We had 3 of our elementary buildings. We had Gill, Longacre, and Hillside. I'm sorry. Yeah, and Forest. Forest, Gill, Longacre, and Hillside. Those were the 4 that we limited. We had 171 applications that were approved by the district. Some of those were current Section 104 students, and they didn't actually have to reapply. They were already current applicants, and then some were ineligible due to the grade level of application or their residency. Others were an intra-district applicant, and they applied for the Section 105. So we had 139 parents accept placement, 104 students completed the enrollment process, for a total of 74% of our families accepting the placements and enrolling their children in Farmington. Our STEAM lottery applicants, as you can see, we had 640 for kindergarten through 8th grade, and there were 160 placements for those students. The majority of the new students were our kindergarten students, and 6 applicants were 1st through 8th grade, and then also the kindergarten students, which were 65. Here is our...
Sorry, can I pause you on that?
Oh, this one?
Applicants placed were not already enrolled in FPS, so the 72 that were placed in kindergarten openings makes sense. They weren't previously FPS students. We're saying that the 55 5th grade openings and the 33 8th grade openings were to students that were not previously enrolled in FPS?
That's 1st through 5th. 1st through 5th and 6th through 8th.
Yeah.
Yes.
So 88 placements went to folks that were not previously in FPS?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
It looks like, Rhonda, it's below that, so it's 6 applicants were not. And then the 65 kindergartners. It looks like it's.
Oh, I'm sorry,
below
yeah,
that.
6.
Yes.
Yep. That last bullet, 6 applicants.
Oh, I'm sorry. I get it.
Were
I get
first,
it.
8th.
I was confused.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
thank you for
Yep.
that. I wasn't following.
And then this is our interdistrict school of choice numbers by level. So those who were requesting building transfer by level. 63 applicants for our interdistrict schools of choice. Okay. PA 227 for our staff actually increased. We had a 45% increase in those applications, and you can see here where the numbers were distributed. Our Section 105 recommendations, and this is what will be voted on at our next board meeting. Our recommendations are to continue with the process that we have had. The window, we're recommending to continue interdistrict schools of choice and Section 105. This is our interdistrict school of choice window, which is right after winter break. This is consistent with previous years and the window from previous years. The Section 105, again, the window is consistent, January 26th through February 13th. And we are recommending, again, to continue to participate in limited school of choice, open to residents in Oakland County for students in kindergarten through 9th grade for next school year. And we've identified buildings that are closed to Section 105 placements. Okay.
Mrs. Heinrich.
Is there a reason we limited it to Oakland County? Because we border on Wayne County also?
So traditionally, yeah, good question. So
Yeah.
traditionally, the district has only participated in 105. You could make that recommendation to us to participate in it's just 105C, and that allows you to accept students from contiguous counties versus just Oakland. But it's been here historically just Oakland County.
I'm pausing because I see members thinking.
I would like, I don't want 105C.
So keep it as it is now with Oakland County.
I've had some conversations with some parents, and 105 is causing some problems with students. Parents feel that these are parents and students that are not really stakeholders here. And they feel that, for a better term, a lot of discipline problems that they are seeing. Not only the behavior issues from the students, but also pushback from parents as well, because they feel that they're here now. And, and I think a lot of the truancy has to do with students that are not here. I also believe that after-school programs, when students can't get a ride home, they are still stuck here after school. So these are just things that I'm bringing up, but I've heard a lot of discipline issues with students from 105. But I definitely do not want a 105C to open it up through other districts other than Oakland County.
If I might just expand on that, Mrs. Smith, I shared your concerns. I think this is an opportunity for us to pause for a moment and consider, school of choice. So right now, about 5% of our students are school of choice students. I was interested in understanding whether we had any concentrations in any one particular school, and it ranges. If you're looking at elementary schools, we range from less than 1% at Hillside to 13% at Kenbrook. If you're looking at middle schools, we range from about 3% at Power to 11% at East. If you're looking at high school, we've got 3% at North and about 5% at Farmington. I was also interested in understanding whether there were any correlations between school of choice students and discipline issues. And it turns out, at least this past, I think this is this past year, we do not. So out of a couple hundred, I guess, issues with kids across our population of 9,000, we've had a couple hundred issues. One involved a school of choice student.
Okay.
If I had seen something different, I would be prepared to make some different recommendations about school of choice. If we were finding that we have drastically different outcomes for students or behavioral issues, because I hear too a lot that, we really need to address behavior, especially in a post-pandemic environment across the nation. We're seeing an increase in, behavior problems, attendance issues, all of that, right? And so I was looking to see if there were some differences, but I think that because we've evolved our school of choice program to what it is now, where we limit it to certain grades, we want our students to grow with us, so we're encouraging them to start with us in elementary school as opposed to starting in high school, right? I think that that has created the Farmington public school culture that we're looking for. At least that's what this data suggests to me. So I think, again, it's a time to, have this kind of conversation and think about whether we want to continue based on the data I do. It's also maybe an opportunity to consider, okay, well, does that mean we want to open it up or not? But I would want to have some additional data first before I'd be comfortable with doing something like that.
Question with regards to our absenteeism. Is there any correlation, or are we in a position to find out if there's any correlation between how our absentee rates line up against our school of choice students, our intra-school students, that kind of information? Because to your point, Ms. Smith, perhaps if that transportation becomes a barrier, it just gives us, not suggesting that they have to change schools, but just gives us an opportunity to provide some additional services.
Yeah, we can look into that and provide that for you.
So this matter will come back to the board for action at our next board meeting. I appreciate the discussion here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Heinrich, are you looking for any additional information?
No, I mean, I just, sometimes I think out loud, and I was just wondering.
No, that's good.
Why we were limited to Oakland County, but yeah, I appreciated, because there were questions about discipline, and so data speaks, and so I think I really like Mr. Walker's question about attendance, and just when we're talking about attendance also, I mean, President Weems highlights the importance of attendance every meeting in her president's remarks. I wonder just how attendance is correlated not only to students that are students of choice as far as in residence directories, but also students that are eligible for district transportation as opposed to students that don't qualify for district transportation. See if there's any correlation there, just for further conversation.
Thank you for that.
And it's just, and another question is, we have our homeless population students. Are they included in this 105 school of choice if they are homeless and they don't?
No.
Yeah,
So they're not,
They're a different population,
They're a different population.
subject to different rules.
Yeah, McKenna-Vento Act.
and really, I mean, opening to school of choice, it really brings revenue into the district.
Yes.
And, we operate all of these buildings and heat them, and so if we have seats available, it just makes sense to provide opportunities for education. And it's not a burden on our resources as far as the district, and there's some benefits financially.
Yep, so it brings it about 1.1 million this year.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Mr. Hall?
Yes, so what determines, identify a building is open to 105 placements and the ones that are not open to 105 placement? How is that determined?
So we
I
look
can
at-
answer
oh,
that.
okay, yeah.
Poor Rhonda hasn't
Yeah.
done it yet, so.
Yeah, but-
I think I can do this. So we have always just looked at our space and capacity. So to Claudia's point, we look at where we have place. We wouldn't add additional staff in one building if we have space in another building. So that's how we look at that. The other piece is the percentages that President Weems just read off. We monitor those. So there are times where we would close those buildings because their school of choice numbers maybe are on the higher end. And so Kenbrook was an example of that. So, and then we let them level off. The other piece is we monitor the ability of choice within our Farmington community to be able to go from one school to the other. And then what does that do? Do we get overcrowded buildings and then underutilized buildings? So we think about it year to year and look at some of these patterns. Because sometimes it's a lot of our families wanting to choose to go to a particular school where it just creates some unnecessary problems with staffing and space. So that's what we are looking at. Over the last couple of years, though, we've kind of settled that in. So now we're ready to open that up a little bit for internal movement as well as external.
And those buildings that we're looking at opening up again, because it's leveled off, we're looking at kindergarten, first and second only,
Right.
to start out.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. Again, we'll have this discussion at our additional discussion and potential action at our next meeting.
Okay, thanks.
All right, we are ready to move now to our second public comment. It looks like I have one public comment form. If anyone else is interested in public comment, please fill out a form. You're welcome to start making your way up. I think you would have heard our spiel from earlier, so I don't have to repeat it. Welcome, Mr. Steele.
Hi. Make sure you can hear me this time. I wanted to talk about the upcoming vote on the student devices refresh. So I watched Mr. Prescott's presentation last week. He did a good job explaining. He looked at several different options. They looked at, how, repairability. I really liked how he discussed how they surveyed the students and took into account what they wanted. So it looks like you're voting to approve about $4.1 million for 10,500 devices. Works out to about roughly $390 per device. So I did a quick search. It seemed a little high, so I did a quick search. It seems like most Chromebooks run $230 to $280-ish dollars. There's some that are a little more. But I wanted to do a apples-to-apples comparison. Unfortunately, there's no manufacturer model number available to look at. There's no mention about additional software or any warranties being purchased or basically any information at all. So I'm not trying to insinuate that there's any wrongdoing, but when basic information like that is withheld, it kind of leaves a little bit of a perception of something's off a little bit. So I'd like to ask you, before you vote in 5 minutes, if you could possibly share some of that information. Who's the manufacturer, what's the model, what exactly is included in this purchase? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment? Seeing no further public comment, we will now close public comment, and we will move to our next item, which is action items. Is there a motion and/or a request for discussion? Go ahead.
I move that the Board of Education approve the purchase of 10,500 Chromebooks at a cost not to exceed $4,100,000 from VI.A, if I'm saying that correctly, Computer Products, utilizing REMC contract pricing as presented.
Support. Motion made by Mr. Walker, seconded, I think first by Mrs. Smith, to approve the purchase of 10,500 Chromebooks at a cost not to exceed $4.1 million from VI.A Computer Products as presented. Is there any discussion? Yes, Mrs. Smith.
I'd like to ask, that does make some sense for clarity for the community of what is on the Chromebooks. Are they, just to clarify,
Yeah,
to be open so that the community can know before we make a vote and pass, so that they won't think we're spending money and not getting what they need
That's fair.
for their students.
Yeah, so we work directly with Plant Moran and Amy Sasina, who takes the lead on this with our team. This is, as you mentioned, it's REMC pricing, so that's the best pricing that you will get for these types of machines. I believe these are, they're the same Chromebooks that we've had, they're just the smaller screen. So we've had very good luck in the durability of these and working with Hewlett-Packard. So, and it is a not to exceed bid. And I just spoke with Patrick the other day, looking like the cost is coming in very favorable. So, but if we don't do not to exceed, so we put it up a little bit to ensure that we can make sure that we have enough funds and not have to come back to the board.
Right.
But it's looking like they're coming in favorable. But it's part of it is what we know about it, how we know how to service them. When we think about Chromebooks, there isn't like software ads or that. Everything's web-based. So they're very minimal on that end.
Thank you.
Yes, Mrs. Heine.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. REMC pricing, what is that? Is that like, because a lot of our purchases are through consortiums?
Yeah,
is
that's
that,
what it is. REMC is a consortium.
Okay, it's consortium.
Yeah.
Right, and my experience as in education, when we would purchase calculators, we would get the ones that they did specifically for education in the school bus yellow that wasn't available to the public. So are these Chromebooks that are a little bit more heavy-duty or specific for use in the classroom?
I don't know
as opposed to buying at Best Buy?
Yeah, they may be different, but what it is it's the bulk pricing. And
So it's
that's
the bulk
and they're
pricing, okay.
approved through that bidding process. And so then we don't have to take them out for separate bids.
Okay, and then as far as the preparation and the software updates or, preparing them, that's done by our staff. It's not included in the pricing for the Chromebooks. We're just paying for the actual physical Chromebooks.
They come with some base, and then we add, our team does that, adds the additional program or the different.
Labor?
Yeah,
Okay.
to get them set up. outside.
So we're not paying additional for the labor? We're providing the labor with our staff.
Are there any additional comments? I know this matter was also discussed at the Finance and Facilities Committee where we had some additional questions and comments. I don't recall any coming up there that would be relevant for this discussion, but I do want to mention that this is not the first or second opportunity for us to have a conversation about this. Anybody have any further questions? So seeing none, I think we can go ahead and call for a roll call vote. Please, Mrs. Secretary.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Rissinger?
Yes.
Ms. Heinrich?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
I am a yes, and President Weems?
I'm also a yes. Thank you. That motion passes. We will now move to items from the treasurer.
Yes, I move that the Board of Education approve the expenditures as outlined in the expenditure printout dated October 28, 2025 as follows. General Fund, $13,412,989. General Fund Athletics, $195,563. Debt Fund, $6,652. Capital Projects 2023 Bond Fund, $1,126,996. Nutrition Services Fund, $456,234. Benefits Stabilization Fund, $1,310,013. Total, $16,508,447.
Support. Motion made by Mrs. Heinrich, supported by Mrs. Smith, to approve the expenditures as outlined in the expenditure printout. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion passes. Is there a motion for the consent agenda? Mr. Walker.
I move that the Board of Education approve the October 28, 2025 consent agenda as follows. Item A, approval of the minutes of October 14, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting, October 14, 2025 regular meeting. Item B, the Head Start Director's Monthly Report. And item C, personnel items.
Support. Motion made by Mr. Walker, supported by Mrs. Smith, to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion passes. Are there any reports from board representatives? Yes.
Please purchase your tickets for the Toast for Education, which is coming up on November 7th. A fun time will be had by all, so come hungry and please join us to support this wonderful organization.
Thank you. Any other reports? Mrs. Heinrich?
Yeah, the Oakland County School Board Association meeting was held on October 15th. I attended along with Dr. Blau and Dr. Coffin. The program was a MASB program on guiding public schools for increasing student achievement. And I want to thank Dr. Coffin for actually including the slide deck presentation in the weekly update for the board members. So it kind of, I thought it was very good, and we actually took notes on it and had some discussions, and it really ties in with what we're doing and the work that we're doing in our community. The next meeting is December 17th. It's a joint meeting with the Oakland County School Board Association and the Oakland County Superintendents, and it also conflicts with our IV graduation. Yes. So I don't know that we're going to have a big representation from Farmington, just because local kind of IB graduation is important to our district, and our board really supports that. But it's out there. And then there's another meeting in January.
Thank you for that. Seeing no further reports, I just want to thank my board members for your engagement today. I really appreciated the discussion. I think that means that this meeting is adjourned.